featured story is the CPI. December inflation report, price rises continue to cool. The consumer price index rose 6.5% annually through last month, in line with expectations as the Federal Reserve weighs the path of interest rates increases. Inflation slowed last month thanks to cheaper fuel and airfare. Markets waver after fresh inflation numbers. So this is the current inflation, right? We're right here. So do you think that this 9.1 was the top? Or do you think it's going to pull back and then head off and go parabolic, mad gains?
I don't know. I think inflation's one of those things. It's like it's always going to be here. I mean, what do you think? You know more about this than I do.
No, so my take was that sustained high inflation is very difficult to maintain because when price rises, people don't want to pay for things that they otherwise would have paid for. And when they're not paying for it, price goes down. For example, Davis gave another 1999 power bill. Wow. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. Very, very generous. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much at G Chambers. Let's effing go. Let's effing go. Thank you. Keeping the show going. Very, very much appreciated. Very generous. Thank you. But guys, this one you heard here first. Sustained high inflation is very difficult. People think it's just money printing. It's not. It requires spending. And when prices go up, people spend less. So if you look here, since the top in 1981 or 82, whatever, there's been a lot of money printing happening, right? There's been a lot of money printing, but there's been very little inflation for a good, it went up to 6 for a little bit, but right back down to that 2%. Since like 1993 or 1992, there's been over 11% increase in the money supply, but inflation's been between 2 and 4 and close to 2. And even look over here in 2009, this was the 2008 crash. You had deflation because recessions are deflationary. So with the Federal Reserve tightening and price rises, so spending cuts happening, how is inflation going to maintain itself? The reason why there was increased spending was because people had more money, because people went out. Like, think about yourself during the COVID. Did you spend a lot? You were inside all day. Did you spend a lot during COVID?
Me?
Yeah.
Not really.
You didn't go out and shop. You didn't. Maybe you shopped online, but you didn't go out and go to restaurants. You didn't go to ball games. No gas. People were just getting extra money, and like they were working from home and making money. And then also, even if they weren't working, they were getting unemployment, which was very generous. I think it was $800 a week or something.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. It's a lot of money to unemployment
in their job.
And then there was still no inflation, but then the economy reopened and people had a lot of money, and the goods on the shelf were not they didn't have the amount of goods on the shelf to be able to handle that spending. And then on top of that, you had the supply chain breakdown because of COVID. So there's very little supply, and there were people with a lot of money that were spending. So inflation ran wild. But then the prices went up, the supply chain bottlenecks eased, people's raises were not keeping up with the rate of inflation, and the Fed was raising rates at the fastest rate they've ever done. And that's just what's supposed to happen. Inflation is going to come down. That's just the way it works, guys. This is something that it's funny how nobody in crypto really understands finance. Like, I'm just like a little bit like, it's a little bit like funny to me that people in crypto really don't get it when it comes to economics and finance. They think they do because they got onto the fact that the Federal Reserve prints money out of thin air. But that doesn't mean that we're going to have hyperinflation, folks. We have to think rationally, folks. We have to use our heads. And that's why I'm here. And that's why you should have a consultation with Furu Finance. You just email me, furufinance@gmail.com. We have a limited time offer where you join the Patreon, which is 20 or 30 a month. So you have to be in silver or gold. You get a free consultation, which is normally $100. And you could always rescind your Patreon. So you could just, I'm not trying to give you guys the wrong idea here, but theoretically speaking, you could just get a consultation and screw me. But you get all the benefits. You get Discord, you get discounts, you get AMAs. So join the Patreon. It supports me, it supports you. And if you join, just email me and at furufinance@gmail.com and book your consultation for free. What are your thoughts on what I just said?
I think it's great. I think everyone should go do it. And
Right.
follow both of us on TikTok as well.
Go to bendubar.com.
I'll be right back.
But yeah, back from the shilling, back to the inflation has peaked, because of what I said, but we could read it. Inflation continued to slow on an annual basis in December, providing welcome relief for American households and a positive development for policymakers at the Federal Reserve and White House. Consumer price index climbed by 6.5% in the year through last month, down from 7.1. That's a huge decrease in the November readings as the prices declined slightly on a monthly basis. The annual inflation rate was the slowest since October 2021, a pullback that came as gas prices dropped and airfares declined. Economists and Fed officials are more acutely focused on a so-called core inflation measure, which removes food and fuel prices to get a sense of underlying price trends. The measure climbed by 5.7% in December from an earlier a year earlier, compared with 6% in line with what forecasters had expected. The takeaway is that inflation is beginning to meaningfully moderate, helped by development, including cheaper prices at the gas pump and less expensive airfares. But the key question now is how quickly and how completely it will return to normal after a year and a half of unusually rapid increases. And policymakers are wary that a full deceleration could be a long process. Several factors should help to slow price increases this year. A pullback in goods price inflation is expected to help cool overall inflation this year as supply chains heal. Climbing rental costs could continue to push inflation higher for a while, but that is expected to reverse by mid-2023. Rents for newly leased apartments have begun to climb much more slowly, private data suggests, which will feed into the government's official inflation measure over time. Fed officials are closely watching what is happening with prices, blah, 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 blah. To cool conditions, central bankers have been raising interest rates, making borrowing more expensive for companies and households in a bid to slow demand in the broader economy. Fed policymakers have slowed interest rates increases after a series of rapid moves in 2022, and officials have suggested they could slow them down further at their February 1st rate decision. But officials expect to raise rates at least slightly more and then keep them high until they see convincing evidence that price increases are moderating, even if that inflicts some economic damage. So there you go, guys. Been saying this. I don't know. A lot of you guys have not been watched, are more new to this channel. And if you are, please like and subscribe. But like I've been saying, inflation will inevitably top. And it seems like it has. And this is very bullish because if inflation goes back to its 2% target, then the Fed starts easing interest rates and then crypto will seriously moon. And it's looking like we're only in January now and we're at 6.5. So that means once we are in it's probably going to get lower incrementally. Maybe there'll be one rise or whatever, but it could be back to 2% certainly by August. And that would mean that the Fed is starting to cut rates. And then May 2024 is the Bitcoin halving. So it's looking like the 4-year cycle is intact. It's looking like we're going to see all-time highs for crypto in 2024. It's looking like Hex, with the launch of pulsechain, is going to be going to all-time highs probably in 2024, and hopefully we'll be super rich. In my opinion, not financial advice. And it's looking like pulsechain is going to moon like crazy, and Pulse X is going to moon like crazy, and we're going to be broadcasting from our Lambo in Richard Hart's country, okay? But we're super bullish.
Right.
I'm really happy. This is very exciting. Things are turning around. What are your thoughts, Ben? Are things turning around?
It's nice to have some optimism, man. Maybe, yeah. Potentially. I like what you're saying. I like what I'm hearing, buddy.
Yeah, I like what I'm saying too. And I like what I'm hearing. But Davis says,
And you know how we can really accelerate the bullishness?
how?
TikTok and YouTube Shorts.
That's right. How'd you know? Davis, I'm making Davis a mod.
I'm a disciple of the TikTok preacher.
Generous donation. But mod.
Shout out to Billy Mack in the chat.
Davis, you are a mod. Thank you so much for the generous donation. It's the least I can do. But I believe that we'll have bloody streets until mid 2024. I would disagree. I don't think it's going to be bloody. I think it will be. We won't have all-time highs, but I think it will be sideways. So I think that could even mean that Hex is trading maybe between 10 and 20 cents, or even 10, and we might even hit 30 and then pull back, back to the teens, whatever. But I think 2023 is going to be a great accumulation year. The bottom may be in, but all-time highs probably mid 2024. But that doesn't mean bloody streets. I think that pain of like lower lows, it's definitely not going to be all 2023, in my opinion, not financial advice. But I do agree with this. Buy Hex. Yes, in my opinion, not financial advice. But Ben, how do you see 2023 playing out in terms of markets?
I think maybe sideways down. It could just be down all of 2023, maybe. Thing is, a lot of people seem to be getting bullish, and I'm wondering if maybe we just need more shakeout. But this is my first bear market, so I don't know what to think, maybe it's been, hasn't it technically been a year since the top?
It's been over a year. It's been about a year and 2 months.
So we're in that time zone of the 4-year cycle being like, okay, the bottom is close.
The bottom would be in according to 4-year cycle theory.
So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things out there that are saying like we're here sitting at the near or around the bottom right around now. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's exciting, and yeah, I've definitely been feeling like depressed and stuff, which on the Wall Street cheat sheet indicator thing, I would say, So I don't know.